I would now like to introduce our speaker, Irineo Medina. All right, he's got his cheering squad over there. All right. Irineo Medina is a practicing artist residing in Fox Valley. Irineo specializes in creating spaces of inclusion while building equitable opportunities for his community to be involved in different layers of his work. This shows up in his subject matter, as well as community participation in the creation of community murals. This practice stems from Ireneo's interest in the relationship between people and their environment. He explores how the environment we exist in molds our mindset. Ireneo's overlap of art and advocacy pushes back on the current status quo through color, movement, and portraiture. It is this push that brings life and positive energy to Ireneo's work. It is this push that drives the work he is creating to color our environment and build new mindsets. Irineo believes that art can erase the lines we draw between ourselves and begin to weave us together. Well, we've already welcomed you, Irineo. You already had your cheering committee, but that's all right. But we were going to give you another round of applause for being here with your presence. Thank you.
I'm gonna try to adjust this real fast without not. All right. Good. Yeah. Cool. Hello, everybody. Yo, 600 people is crazy. It's a lot of people. So I'm Irineo Medina. I'm originally from Sheboygan. Now currently residing here in Kaukauna, and really happy to call Appleton a home. It wasn't always that way. I initially wanted to leave like immediately. I was like, I need to get out of here. Just that I'd left Oshkosh, where I graduated from, but I'm really glad that I stuck around. I truly believe that Appleton is on the precipice of something great. There are people moving in all the right directions all over our community. I try to use my platform, as was shared, through art to do what I can to also help encourage that movement. So it's been a great time to be here. Just being able to meet some people in the same vein of work. Also, hear from people sharing a piece of themselves. So I just want to start by saying thank you to everybody who has let a breakout or who has spoke. I know it takes courage, and maybe some of you are veterans, like guys morning. My God, that charisma was crazy. But yeah, I appreciate people putting themselves out there. I also want to say thank you to the organizers, especially for giving me a platform to share a piece of myself. There was a time in my life where I was not supposed to be here. And so thank you. Lastly, thank you to everybody who participated in the project. Thank you to those that signed your life away. You'll know what that stands for at the end of this. And also to those that participated in the survey. As we get into it, you'll see how that comes out in later on as I'm speaking. So, like I said, my name is Irineo Medina, but I wanted to talk about, after the morning speaker, about the name situation, because he was Wilbur in first grade. I was Tom. Yeah, I had a cool babysitter, right? And like, I remember my grandfather. So my full name is Irineo Medina, and I go by Neo because not many people can roll their R's. And I'm actually the third. And so my grandpa, he's from Mexico, and he'd always say, "How do you say your name? How do you say your name?" And he'd make me repeat it. And I didn't understand it then. And as I moved through the early years of learning, I was just constantly made fun of. And then I switched over to Irineo. And then first grade, there was the stint of Tom. Tom didn't work out. So I started going by Isai. And then when I got to college, went by Isai. And then after college, I was like, I should switch to something to my first name. And at that time, I started going by Irineo, which is like the anglicized version of my name. And I did it really just because I didn't want to scrub my Facebook from all my crazy years as a high school kid. So it's just like out of laziness, really. But it wasn't until 2 years ago that I started working at Appleton East, and people had encouraged me along the way to say my name correctly. But I couldn't quite bring myself to do it until 2 years ago at East. They asked me, how do you say your name? I said, how? They said, well, the right way. And then ever since then, it's been Irineo. And then Neo works. My grandpa goes by Neo. My dad goes by Neo. I go by Neo. It's just short, but it's still true to its original purpose. And I feel that my grandfather would be proud of that use and what we've done with the name. So yeah, I just wanted to get into that. So I'm Neo. Those of you around the Appleton community, Eastside Medina, Irineo Medina, Neo Medina, I got 1,000 names, right? But I'm all the same person. So in preparing for today's speech, I started doing a lot of reflecting on my journey and what it took to get here. And it was an uphill climb. As I mentioned, statistically, especially, I was not supposed to be here. And along the way, there was a lot of lessons learned and also bridges burned. And I want to make sure to earmark that bridges burned part, because I'm going to come back to that, because that still will continue to happen in my professional years. But the Cliff Notes version of my life, and if you come to my breakout, I'll get a little more into it. I heard it mentioned this morning of the one supportive person. And for me, that was my mom. My dad bounced when I was a kid. And then from then, he was like an every other weekend dad, sometimes more, sometimes less. My life was filled with alcoholism, violence, drug addiction, drug use, drug selling, and incarceration. And my mom did her best to keep us afloat. Single mom of 3. Now she's happily married, I think like 15 years or something. I should know that. But you know, it was tough for her. But there is one thing that she drilled in my brother and I. Nobody ever told me that I could go to college, so I'm telling you. And that, you know, not that college has to be the way forward, but it kept us enough in the realm of education to care a little bit. And so as I moved through high school and middle school, like I did enough. I think B's and C's, sometimes A's. Like I never applied myself, and you know, sometimes I wonder if I would apply myself, what would I be, right? But I ended up getting a 29 on my ACT, which was crazy to me. And my mom's like, you should probably go to college. And so I went to college. I started at UW Sheboygan, and first semester there. And really like towards the back end of my senior, you know, people in like my circle, some friends, one childhood friend, they started passing away. And I knew that I had to get out of the circle that I was in, or I would be dead or in jail. And so I left. I went to Oshkosh. And unfortunately, while I left my situation, the messages that I'd been inundated with my entire life didn't leave me, and violence especially stuck around. And so I ended up a felon, found myself in jail. But while I was in school, I started going into a sign shop, and I met a gentleman by the name of Josh Marquardt. He still runs a shop in Oshkosh, no longer downtown. And he took me under his wing, and he came and spoke for me at court. And he became, you know, like my mom was, he was that caring adult, and he pushed on me, and he made me go into uncomfortable spaces. But it's because of him that I stuck with college and graduated at the top of my class. And he was that caring adult. And then, thank you. And then that began to grow. Well, number one, I started to trust people, especially people that didn't look like me, because Josh Marquardt was just this like scrawny white dude that loved Nas, right? And that's what we bonded over, hip hop, if you don't know who Nas is. Yeah. And so like I started to trust people, and then came my professors, and I'm still close with some of them, which is awesome. And then I graduated, and then I didn't know what to do. Because with the bachelor's of fine arts, you'd be like, I could paint a picture, or, you know, I am a printmaker, but unfortunately, not really many people are hiring printmakers anymore. So I didn't know what to do. And so my village kind of shrank a little bit again. And I luckily always had my wife. She's here supporting me. Hi, Val. But you know, she's always been in my corner. And even though after art school I was in a really rough spot because I just didn't know who I was supposed to be or what I was supposed to do, and there was no roadmap to follow because I was the first in my family, she encouraged me and pushed me, and we went through manual labor jobs. I worked in a call center for 3 years, and eventually I just kind of took that and I started knocking on doors, and I met my boss, my now boss, Kayla. I don't know where you are. But she hired me, an ex-felon, and working with kids, I was told that I would never be allowed to work with kids. So I went in college, I was trying to be an art teacher. They said, no, you'll never be allowed in the school. So then I just went to be an artist, right? But Kayla hired me. She took a chance on me. And then I started working with youth in an advocacy way while also trying to work in an arts way. So when I met her, it was like, hey, I just want to paint a mural with at-risk youth, right? Because like art saved my life. Art was my vehicle. And how can I give that back? Like so much of my life now is about giving that back. And so that grew and grew, and here we are. And through that, I've met other people. I don't know if Jen Stefani's here. She runs Appleton Downtown, but her office is right over there. And she invests in me. Her time, she's partnering with me on a great project called Paint the City. 20 kids, largely marginalized kids this summer. We'll do this is the second one. They're getting $400, half a credit, and they get to paint a mural for 2 weeks. It's awesome. It's a good way to reframe education, right? So it's like I'm building these connections, and now they're growing and growing. I got Timber, I got Peter, I got Mike. I could go on and on. I got Sherman and Anya, who've been with me from the beginning, and it just grows and grows. And it takes a village, right? It takes people to stand up and believe in me. But I also know that when we go back to our respective spaces, not everybody's gonna be able to walk in and feel embraced. Like even in some places that I move here in Appleton, where I feel at home, this work is not embraced. In fact, people might give you the opposite of embrace. They might shove you down, push you down, dismiss you. I'm sure many of you, in fact, I know many of you, as I look around like me, understand what it's like to be at the pit of somebody's bias, somebody's preconceived notion of everything you are and everything you can be. And it's on us. The unfair part about that is it's on us to have to overcome that. It's up to me until you start to build that village. And so in that village, know that the weight that we carry because of people's biases can crush our spirits. It can break our soul. Belonging to a marginalized or minoritized population, we have to have resilience from birth, or we won't make it. We will not make it out. And so, as we go through this work, I implore you all to use your privilege, whether that's standing up for race, ethnicity, orientation, ability, age. Stand up and get in front of. Speak up, because it starts with us. It has to. Today, not tomorrow. And we have to be willing to step in front of and take those risks, because that is how we're going to shift culture over time. That is how we're going to build bridges. And I am also going to let you know, please do not be discouraged when we don't step over those bridges immediately, because trust takes a long time. A long time. But I trust you all to build the same resilience that we have built since birth. Now, in a second here, I'm going to call 12 volunteers. All right. So yesterday you guys had a survey, and I want to give voice to some of those anonymous answers. So I don't think that you guys will be paired with your own answer, but on the off chance you are, I'm sorry. But I need 12 volunteers. All right. Don't all jump up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. See, Vaughn told you. All right, come on up. Okay. All right, so if we could get in, yeah, I'm gonna get them in 3 lines. So it should be 4 to a line, right?
Line 1, line 2, line 3.
Yeah. 1 second, I just gotta see if I drop one of these. Oh, I hope I didn't. All right, face the front. Here. If you want to take one of these and pass it back. Take one of these and pass it back. And then where's the third line? Oh, sorry.
We went
Yeah. 3 by 4 deep.
Okay.
Sorry. And then pass it back.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. All right. I might have dropped one. Is there, what, did you guys only get 3? Does everybody have one? Yeah. Does everybody got a piece of paper? I'm sorry. Yeah, cool. All right. So what I'm going to do is each of you are going to get a mic and then I just want you to read it and that's it. All right. We're just giving voice. Like this isn't, so just so you guys know, like their responses and the people that are impacted by our actions and our inactions, it's not just like some Twitter thread, right? Like it's not on the internet. These are real people in this room that are affected in our spaces, in our community, in our parks, in our schools. I could go on and on. All right, there you go. And then if you want to give the other 2 to the one here, and then you can pass it back.
Can I go?
Go ahead.
All right.
To me, success looks like financial freedom.
To feel like I belong in my community, I need representation and visibility of minoritized people, not just our struggles, but our wins too.
To me, success is feeling safe.
To feel like I belong in my community, I need continued representation of women of color in positions of leadership.
To feel like I belong in my workplace, I need white fragility to be addressed, not coddled.
To feel like I belong at my workplace, I need to be allowed to bring my full self to work.
To me, success looks like being fulfilled.
To feel like I belong in my community, I need you to believe me.
To me, success looks like justice.
To feel like I belong at my workplace, I need more involvement of women in all areas of the company.
To feel like I belong at my workplace, I need queer and neurodivergent inclusion.
To feel like I belong in my community, I need representation of Native Americans.
Awesome. Hey, thank y'all. Can you guys give them a hand? All right, before you guys sit down, I want you to think of a number 1 through 100. All right, and then we're just gonna go down the same lines and you can just shout your number.
73.
Oh, my man wins, right? You're the closest to 81. Were you the closest to 81? I think so. This is yours, man. Appreciate you. Y'all can be seated now. Thank you for your help. Thank you. All right. So we heard a couple things, right? Representation. I think that one to me speaks the loudest. You know, I didn't have that growing up. The only thing I seen was how to make trouble. And now it's about making good trouble. And how can I fill that role? How can I be that representation for the youth up under me? And on that journey of being an advocate, of being an ally, combining that with artistry, it's hard. And all of you that are stepping into allyship, it's hard. And when I talked about the bridges being burned part, it's because opposition is going to come. And maybe some of you know that, right? And it comes from the places you'd expect, of course, but it also comes from places that you don't expect, places with vast power and influence. And so I'm just going to tell a brief story about something that I experienced through my day job. So brief synopsis of my day job. I work for a program called STAR at the Boys and Girls Club of the Fox Valley, but we are, my team's over there. We be doing the real thing. But in short, we are advocates and allies, but also mentors to Black students in the Appleton Area School District. But we used to be in another school district. And it was my advocacy for our students in a middle school that got our program, our free program to that district, kicked out. And it was the superintendent that came for me and that tried to silence me, both during and after. And it was through that year of racism and re-traumatization that I learned something. And as hard and grueling as it was, I knew that I'm here to stay because the kids needed me. And there was adults above me, ahead of me in this chain of command, and I needed them. And one reason or another, it didn't work out. And I'm not gonna lie, I was disappointed. And when we ultimately got kicked out, I was heartbroken. Because the kids lost something. But I needed them to know that if not anybody, there was one person willing to risk it all for them so that every day they could know that their lives mattered. And so now I probably much to my company's annoyance, I just move how I need to move because I trust my own moral code, because my moral code says I'm going to stand up for what's right, regardless of who's in power, who's in front, who's next to me, who's beside me, doesn't matter. Because people need us. They need us. And so I encourage you all to move forward with that same energy. You guys are all here for this work. And some of us, as I said, we know this work because we are this work, right? So as you move forward into your spaces, and I understand that there's challenges, but be willing to risk a little bit. Be willing to hang out there in the uncomfortable space and step in front of, because that pain and uncomfortability is nothing compared to the hundreds of years that people have been experiencing that pain and uncomfortability. So when you say that you're an ally, when we say that we're allies, we're going to say it with our chest, right? We're not going anywhere. We are here to stay. Thank you.